We are officially back from Saab Owners Convention 2024. We did just under 3,000 miles on this car over the span of a week, and well, a lot happened. We're going to be talking about the issues I ran into, things like gas mileage, how the car handled it overall, and more. So let's get into it. Before I grab you all off the tripod, I do want to do a quick recap. So Saab Owners Convention 2024, if you've missed the last 3 videos on the channel, was a yearly Saab meet that was held in Portland, Oregon this year. So that was about a 21-hour drive away from where I live. You can check out the video I filmed on the way up with a lot of scenic drives and detours and such in the top corner if you're interested, but including all those detours and the way back, we covered 2,967 miles. If you also want to see the videos of the actual event, I'd highly recommend them. Some of my favorite videos to film every year. Those will be linked in the top corner throughout this video as well. On the way back, we took the most direct route. We took Interstate 5 from Portland all the way down to Los Angeles, and then for the majority of it, took I-10 back from Los Angeles to Phoenix. So I did film about 2 minutes worth of B-roll in a montage I'm going to put in right here, so enjoy that for a little bit of an overview of how the trip back went.
Waiting for your storm to settle as I look toward the sea. Dust in your eyes like the water as the tide, it consumes me. You would never save me if my walls came down. Head is underwater, you would let me drown. Watching as I suffocate. Darling, pull the trigger, honey, steal my crown. Choke me till I black out, put your hands around. Cut out my heart, I'm guilty. She said, worship me, I control the air you breathe. Worship me, my forgiveness sets you free. Worship me, I control the air you breathe. Worship me, my forgiveness sets you your sins away to him. Go a garden safe from murder. Fill the forest with your kin. You would never save me if my walls came down. Head is underwater, you would let me drown.
So on the way back, in day 1, you saw we did quite a lot. We got all the way from Portland to Los Angeles in one day, which actually was exactly 1,000 miles. So we did 1,000 miles in one day. That was 16 hours of driving. We left at 6 a.m. from Portland and got into Los Angeles around 10:30, 11 o'clock. No detours at all. It was I-5 most of the way, and then a little bit on 210 to get to our final destination. But that, I was incredibly impressed with the 1,000 miles, and the car just handled it amazingly. There were no hiccups. The car didn't feel like it was getting tired at all. The reason I mention that is when I took my Turbo X to Denver for Saab Owners Convention in 2019, we did the drive in one day on the way back. That was about 14 hours, about 900 miles of driving. I could tell the last 2 hours or so, the car started to feel tired. Like I could tell if I tried to accelerate hard or anything. It just didn't feel like it wanted to give me everything it had. So of course I was not driving the car hard, but this thing just felt effortless the whole way. Like it could have done the whole trip with no problems in one go. Gas mileage for the entire trip. So on the way up, I averaged 32 miles per gallon. On the way back, I averaged a little bit less than that. The gas mileage for the entire trip was 29.4 miles per gallon. So I think I spent somewhere between $500 and $600 on gas. So not terrible. It would have been a lot higher, but on the way back, we were averaging probably about 85 miles an hour, 80, 85 on I-5 and I-10. So I kicked the speed up a bit to cut off some time, and that of course impacted fuel economy a bit. But 29.4 overall, incredibly happy with that. So before we get into the issues I ran into in this video, and I'll do a little tour around the car when we get to that, I do want to talk about the overall experience. So I already mentioned the car just handled it fantastically. It didn't feel like it was getting tired at any point. It just was good, smooth, no issues. And I mean, I had this car packed to the gills. Like I had zero room in the trunk for anything else besides my luggage and the spare stuff I brought. I mean, I even brought my Tech 2 and a laptop just in case. That doesn't mean we didn't have any issues, but the car was extremely comfortable. It just felt good. It felt solid the whole time of the drive. I don't really know how else to describe that other than I just had a lot of confidence in the car that it wasn't gonna strand me. Knock on wood that doesn't happen next time I go to drive this car. Even with the Maptune lowering springs and the Bilstein B8s, the car was pretty comfortable over the entirety of the trip. Time to do a bit of a tour around the car and talk about some of the unfortunate issues that I had. Two of them I'm frustrated about. Two of them were just little inconveniences along the way. The biggest one that I'm a little bit disappointed about is on the interior. The adhesive that holds this LED screen to the face of the ICM just kind of started to melt. I think it's probably because everything back here got so hot from the car running for so long. It just probably started to melt that adhesive over time. And also just being in Arizona, it's probably something that slowly has happened over the last 2 or 3 years. But you can see it's to a point now where there's actually a little slit in here where I can stick my fingernail. So the screen has actually slid down far enough to where there's some space back in here. That's especially noticeable at night. That's actually how I first saw it, because there's a green strip of light that kind of comes up on this from the backlighting of the ICM. So that's a bit of a pain because it means I'm going to have to pull the whole unit out, pull the faceplate off, clean this whole area up, and basically re-glue it down. Second thing is back here. This was a bit of a surprise. You might notice my exhaust tip is missing. No, I did not lose an exhaust tip. That would have been extremely disappointing. But we actually had my exhaust hangers fall off at some point on the first day on the way back. We arrived at the hotel in Los Angeles on Sunday night, and I noticed the exhaust was hanging down significantly lower on the one side. So what we did in order to fix that, because the two rubber hangers just slid off here, you can actually see with this new Maptune bracket, there was no little retaining clips on the end here, similar to what you have on this side. You can see in the middle of the screen there. So I think just from the vibration of the exhaust over the length of the day, it just eventually wiggled off and they're sitting somewhere on I-5. So what we did is, as you can see, just grabbed some tie wire from Lowe's the next morning. Thankfully, there was one only about a mile away. I did pull the exhaust tip off just because it was misaligned a good bit. It wasn't rubbing against the diffuser, but it was close. So just for my sanity, I pulled it off so I wouldn't damage this at all if it did shift around with the tie wire. Didn't really damage the diffuser at all. There's a little mark right there from where this metal piece kind of nicked on as it dropped down from the hangers. So that shouldn't be too bad of a fix. I just got to get 2 new exhaust hangers and of course figure out a way to get some clips on there because they are a different size than the ones on the other side. So I got to figure out a solution to that. So those are the only 2 actual problems I had. Now the other 2 kind of issues and inconveniences that I faced were a bit more minor in nature. First off is the gas light. So that I knew about going in, but it did prove very annoying because we essentially would fill up every time we stopped because we'd stop every 2 to 3 hours for a bathroom break. And at that point, it just made sense to get gas because I'd be down probably around half a tank. So on the NG93 cluster, it's really not a big deal. You just have the little gas light that comes on and stays illuminated until your tank gets low enough. However, with the NG95, that light actually flashes nonstop. And then every 2 minutes on this screen, you get a fuel level low light that comes on that you have to clear. And so it's just annoying to have to deal with that pretty much for the entirety of the drive, because by the time we filled up would be about the same time that the gas gauge would start working again. And so I pretty much dealt with it the whole way home. Now the other issue I dealt with was very random, and it's kind of hard to describe. So it actually happened on the way up about when I was in San Francisco. I started the car after stopping at the Golden Gate Bridge, and the airbag light just randomly came on. It wasn't when I cut the wheel, I didn't move the seat or anything like that. It came on, and about 5 seconds later it went off. Another couple minutes later it came on again for a couple seconds, then went off, and it just kind of oscillated on and off like that for about 30 minutes, and then it stayed off permanently. So I didn't really think much of it. It didn't happen again on the way up. However, on the way back in Southern Oregon, I had the same thing happen for probably about an hour straight. The airbag light would just come on and off every couple seconds for about an hour. And that was annoying because it made a little ding on the display up here, as well as, of course, the airbag light coming on. But after that, it just stayed off. So it hasn't come back on. I can't really hook the Tech 2 up to it to scan for codes because the light's not there anymore. But if it happens again, I'll have to scan for codes and see what's up. Again, there was no symptoms of this happening. It wasn't like I cut the wheel and then it happened, or I had moved the seat and maybe that sensor came unplugged. It would just completely randomly happen. But those are really the only other two issues. I'm sure I'm missing a couple little things here or there. For example, I did notice we do have a small oil leak that looks like it's coming from the vacuum pump. But that wraps up this video. If you're interested in helping support the channel more, you can check out my merchandise at the top of the description, or check out my Patreon for some more behind the scenes content. So consider subscribing if you haven't already. Help me reach my goal of 100,000 subscribers, hoping to get there as soon as I can. Definitely disappointed this car was not able to bring home People's Choice. Still a little bit butthurt about that, in all honesty, but it was great to meet so many of you. It was an amazing trip. I highly recommend it if you have not been to a Saab Owners Convention and it's even remotely close to you. Again, this was 1,400 miles most direct route from my house, and it is definitely worth the trip. So thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you all in the next one. This wraps up Saab Owners Convention 2024 coverage.